Around the corner or around the world with the Green Up Beacon.
Video production streamed live and archived at greenupbeacon.com. This is Special Edition with Hank Bond. Our guests today are Sean Horn, Superintendent of Schools of Russell Independent Schools, and Dennis Chambers, Financial Director, and several other titles, including Safety, for the district. Sean, obviously the world is aware of what has gone on in Florida and 17 other places in this country since the beginning of the year. That's 45 days. I'm sure that every student and every parent will appreciate you explaining some of the things that you feel like you can reveal about the safety of your children.
Well, first and foremost, I think the most important thing that we can convey to our community is the partnerships that we have with our local law enforcement and emergency personnel. We actually had a meeting yesterday with our fire department chief, and that's pretty regular, the communication that we have with our chiefs of police, our mayor, fire department, EMS, E911. A lot of folks think, with a community our size, which is not a huge community, that there wouldn't be so many other outlets as far as people that come into the safety and security portion of it.
Right.
And Mr. Chambers and I have really worked hard over the course of the last 5.5 years since I've been superintendent to continue to develop those relationships. And a lot of the things that we have in place currently, which we'll talk about a few of those things, Mr. Chambers has been instrumental in getting those things out in front. And, I think the emphasis for all of our local school districts is the importance of safety, keeping the kids safe. And I can only speak for our district as far as the specifics go, but I feel as though we do a tremendous job of keeping our kids safe and secure. And we regularly go through some of these protocols that we'll talk about here in a minute to make sure that we are up to date. We're following it. It doesn't become out of sight, out of mind. And there's not a day goes by at some point during the day that we talk about doors being locked, visitors from the outside signing in, anyone that's going to be exposed to any of our kids, volunteers, substitutes have went through the proper, credentialed background checks, and they're badged. Again, today is just more or less, we just want to reassure our community that we're taking care of our kids.
I noticed that over the past 10 years, there have been doorbells put on to enter the board office. I don't know about the other doors, but back here you have to push a button to be entered unless you're an employee with a badge, I suppose. Mm-hmm. What is your reaction to this question? Maryland worked for the Nye County School District, and when people would come in that they thought you should know that, they would not want to provide identification. And I feel like people think that because it's them that you shouldn't ask them. Mm-hmm. I've never not signed in if I was asked to. Mm-hmm. Now, most people, as you're aware, know who I am, and I'm in every building. Mm-hmm. But I still go through the doorbell. I don't have a badge, and I've never asked for one. Mm-hmm. So, how do you react to those folks who get upset? Do you just?
I'll defer that one to Mr. Chambers, and then I'll come in behind you if that's all right.
Absolutely. We obviously established a multi-layer way of entering our buildings. And so we can let them in a front door. All of our exterior doors are locked, including the front door. They can come in that way, and we still have a holding area to discuss with them further, to ask for their form of identification, ask for their purpose. If that gets uncomfortable, the building principal or administrator gets involved, and we would have no hesitancy. And all of our front office people are reminded frequently, do not hesitate to question purpose. Do not hesitate to, we have ways of accessing law enforcement. if need be, and have done so, if the purpose of the visit is not to the best interest of our building or our staff, our children. So we feel those layers in place helps us defray something that could be negative.
Something we talked about this morning that I think has been a great thing that we've done, and we've worked very closely with our city to do it, is we have a full-time school resource officer now.
Right.
He's been with us for 2 years. A lot of folks are familiar with this vehicle in the community because it is different than the regular police cars. I mean, it's the DARE vehicle, and it has our school logo on the side of it. I mean, he is an employee of our school district. He has helped out tremendously in essentially what Mr. Chambers has described. Having someone on campus, if we did have an altercation with someone, or someone was like, I want into school and, I'm going in, he with us being so close in proximity, if he's not in that particular building, he can be there within a minute,
right.
Literally. So that's helped us out tremendously. And I think the more educated our people become on the safety side of it, I think more people now are asking questions, say compared to 10 years ago.
Right.
If the great thing about being in a small community, everybody knows everyone. I mean, that we know that, but there's still a process and protocol to follow, and we're real careful about who would have access at any point in time. And having those barriers up, as Mr. Chambers explained, you come in, you badge in, you come in a holding area, you're into the office, and then you still have to go through essentially another set of doors to get into the school. And all of our schools are set up that way now, and it really helps.
One of the questions that has been posed to me, and not in any negative light, just as an informational question, was when you move children from building to building, from the high school to the area technical center and I believe there are students that interact between middle school and high school, Latin or something.
Mm-hmm.
You have video in place to watch that, and you have people that will respond if something happens quickly.
Mm-hmm. One of the things we talked about a little bit this morning, and I'll let Mr. Chambers talk specifically about the camera system, is the importance of, and I don't think you ever can have enough adult supervision, Hank. Even when you're doing a great job, I don't think you can have enough adult supervision.
Agreed.
And we do have, fortunately for us being so small, the advantage of our kids traveling from building to building is that we can offer things and allow kids to take advantage of course offerings at the middle school to the high school, the middle school to the vocational school. That's something we've opened up the last 3 years. We have quite a few kids, 7th, 8th grade, all the way to seniors, that travel between those 3 schools. They're kind of in a triangle, which is convenient. But you do have kids on the parking lot. You do have kids traveling from building to building. Dave Trimble's really great about being visible. Joe Bryan is really great about being there. Mr. Moore, Ms. Chapin, they all assist in different ways. But that's something that I think, for us, that we continue to make sure that we have adults present, because that is a deterrent.
Yes.
It's not an end-all be-all, but I think if folks, as kids are traveling, they see an adult there, that might prohibit an event to happen.
Right.
The camera system, Mr. Chambers has been instrumental. He's worked very closely with one of our local businesses and making sure that our camera system is where it needs to be. But speak a little bit about, coverage and.
Sure. We have an excess of 260 cameras in our district. And that includes this office as well. In this office, we're able to monitor all of those cameras at one time, as well as individual rooms in our buildings that have cameras specific to them that people are monitoring. All the cameras pulled up that are in that specific location. Obviously, you can't have enough cameras, but we feel that we have covered most areas of our campus, actually, that would allow us to monitor safety as well as we can.
During a lockdown situation, just think from a law enforcement standpoint, our law enforcement also have access and use cameras and whatnot. Again, there's not a time we can go through our schools that we can say, hey, this would be a great place to have a camera. This would be a great place to have a camera. Over the course of the past 5 years, I would say annually we add to the mix, which is great. And
for many reasons, people don't know where they are.
And the ability for Mr. Chambers is he is over safety, as you mentioned. One of the many hats he wears is safety and security, and he's able to monitor those. So as you mentioned earlier, like with a bus, if we do have a malfunction, as he mentioned, we can get on that really quickly,
Right.
and make sure that we're replacing that, because it's just like anything with technology. Each year it gets a little better, and you got to constantly kind of continue to go back and change and redo and whatnot. For a campus as small as we are, we have really good coverage on our campus, and that's another way. It's another layer of security that we can help monitor, what's taking place on our campus.
We'll move the needle just a little bit, and I know that obviously we discussed before even going on, there are certain things we don't want to talk about. But one of the big points of all this has been the concern with bullying. This young man apparently had been bullied, and I don't think all three of us have experienced our children being bullied in one light or another. Now, not to the point where they feared, but that they didn't want to be around someone. You have to take that into account, Dennis, with safety and protecting the kids. I know a few years ago they basically, KDE said you had to have a policy. I assume Russell's policy is kept up to date, and you get involved with the players.
Absolutely.
There's not and I'm glad you brought that up, because for us, that's pretty much one of those policies that we review annually.
Right.
Because as time goes on, there's added layers to that, there's revisions to that, there's a variety of definitions to that and protocol. We do have very specific protocol in place if there is a bullying situation. We encourage everyone that at any point in time that they feel as though their child is being mistreated, or their child needs some assistance, or just needs someone to talk to, or whatever, I would encourage them to contact someone at the district level or at the schools that's specific to their child. And they're really good, all of our folks, and all of our information is real easily accessible through our website. I'll let Mr. Chambers talk a little bit about that here in a sec. But if they follow those things, we can kind of pinpoint where the issues and problems are, and it helps us manage those situations before it becomes a major problem.
Right.
One of the things we talked about, and I'll let Mr. Chambers highlight this a little bit today, is in these situations, we do have a lot of technology avenues that parents might not know about, community might not know about, and we actually made a revision this morning to our website, which I would like for him to speak a little bit about the hotline and what we do with that.
Absolutely. We want to accomplish this morning and encourage anybody that has anything that they're concerned about to use any means necessary to communicate to us. On our website, our district website, at the top, on the top banner, there is a little stop sign thing that it looks like a little shield. It actually looks like a stop sign that anyone can click on that. It can be totally anonymous. They can put their identifying information on there if they want to. But what their concerns could be a narrative, could be a few buttons that they click to summarize. And we see that immediately as soon as that button is clicked. They can also go on our Facebook site and do a direct message to us. That is seen immediately. We have multiple staff actually that would trigger, including the tip line. They can direct message us on Twitter. We want to encourage any parent, any child that has any concern, if they've seen anything, which is apparently what has unfortunately happened down in Florida, that there were several signs that lack of communication. We want to tell everyone that we're very open to communication. We want to hear their concerns, and please communicate it and use a phone if you want to. Call our principals, call us here at the central office, and we will act immediately on that.
Well, with social media, and the things that we have today. Of course, I think there are family distractions at times, but so much more can be done. Of course, I'm old, but when I went to Russell, you fought out behind where they used to smoke, and then you went and ate lunch together. Bullying isn't that today. It's not. It's for life and retaliation, and I won't say gangs, but in their own way, they create cliques, which is what we've always called them here, who you can't violate that, or you have a real problem. And now they're so, I mean, my grandson's way more, I'm sure Jake's way more ahead than you are on what you can do with all this.
You know, we've talked in past shows and things about technology and some of the things that we've done. You know, as technology evolves, our kids know a whole lot more about those kind of things than we do. Mr. Chambers has a daughter at middle school, and for her to navigate around some of the things and do some of the things, she's a lot more proficient than we are,
Right.
and we know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, that's about it.
But the thing that I want to emphasize is that we have various avenues. Mr. Chambers mentioned the stop sign. That's an easy, quick way of doing it. If folks, some folks just don't feel comfortable calling a school official.
Right.
We take a lot of pride in our office, and we take a lot of pride with our building level administrators. We pretty much operate off a 24-hour rule. For example, you and I had some communication today. And within seconds, we were back and forth. Right. What do you think about doing a show? Let's do it. I take a lot of pride in being accessible to people. I had a parent yesterday I had a meeting with. He did not have a scheduled appointment. But if I'm not locked down with something else, I want people to know that they can come and talk to me. Right. And sit down and have a face-to-face. And if we need to bring Mr. Chambers in on the safety side of it, or Mr. Thompson in on the DPP side of it, or Mrs. Aldridge in on, the curriculum side of it, I want our folks to be accessible. And the key to all of this, in my opinion, it's very, very basic, but I think the key that a lot of times folks just don't take advantage of is that communication piece. Right. Let people know these things are going on. Because so many times I think it's frustrating to all of us. And it's frustrating in a way that, man, if we, how many times have we said, man, if we knew about it, we could have done X. Right. We want people to know that, we're approachable. I'm out and about at a lot of various school events, and folks can come and talk to me. And if I don't have an answer, as you know, I'm not going to make up something. I mean, that would be somebody we can put them on the right person to get some help or whatnot. But our community and where we're at as a school system, I just don't want us to get to a point to where we think, because you see these things on the media. Yesterday was another one of those. Marshall County a couple of weeks ago. We cannot live the way we are today and not say, well, it would never happen here.
Oh, no. It's like you can't say there's no drought. There are things you just can't blow away.
That's not real. And we want to stay ahead and make sure that we have as many avenues as what people feel comfortable with. And we've mentioned 4 or 5, and I know there's a lot more that we're probably not thinking about. But we want people to let us know. We want to be accessible to folks, and if they take advantage of that, I think that we can continue to be a safe, inviting place for people to come and be a part of.
The one other thing, sort of on the bleak side, is one of the things that so many people will, and particularly children, will say to you, don't do anything about it because it'll just cause me trouble with the teacher, or it'll cause me trouble with an administrator. I'd like for you to debunk that myth, that if a student comes and says there's a problem, at least it will get investigated. Not necessarily to their happiness, but you will at least look into it without any retribution.
There's a process to everything that we do. For example, if someone came to me and said, this is happening at, say, Russell High School, what do I do? Obviously, if you come straight to me in the beginning, I want to get the players involved at that particular level. And then if I need to get involved after the fact, we will get involved. But, starting at the correct place. And a lot of times folks are just so frustrated and aggravated at a time that they just want to get a hold of somebody to tell.
Right.
we can direct them to the right location. I can assure you that if it's a bullying situation or a threatening situation of some sort where kids going to be in danger, we're not going to brush that under the rug. We take a lot of pride in making sure that we look into every single thing. Now, as you said, after we do an investigation or look into a situation, it might come back that that's just not founded, or there's two sides to every story, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes folks don't like to hear those kind of things.
No.
But as far as taking it serious and looking into it and not brushing it under the rug, I think that we do a fantastic job of looking into those kind of things.
Right.
But again, it goes back to that communication piece. Anything you'd like to add to that? I mean,
Well, I know of a situation this year where children were concerned about another child and told building administrators about it. It was handled that moment and to positively. And so, yeah, if we accomplish one thing today, we want to make sure that people know that they're free to communicate with us at any time, to any adult, at any moment.
if you haven't been on the website, that's something we wanted to talk about. Those are only as good as how much you use it.
Right.
There's a lot of information on that website. I know that we have community folks that probably haven't even logged in or looked at that, especially folks that are pretty happy. Things are going well.
Right.
We do our dead level best, and that's something we work really hard on to try to make that a up-to-date, as current as it can possibly be format.
Right.
We have a lot of good feedback from community folks about that, because we try to highlight our kids. All the things that are happening in the news, we try to put out there. All of the schedules, we try to put out there. But there's a lot of good information that folks might not know about. Twitter accounts. I know you and I go back and forth, with events that you might be having. I try to retweet those things and get them out because the majority of those deal with our kids. I try to put positive stuff out. The district, we have a Russell updates at Russell High School,
Right.
Principal Sean Moore. We got a lot of those things out there that try to highlight what our kids are doing. And I think the more people understand the formats of what they have access to, I think the better we're going to be, because essentially that's an extra layer of security and being in the know, especially for folks that don't come out to different events and stuff.
Right.
They just live in the community. We send out I do like a superintendent weekly note every week. That's also on our website if you want to catch up on that. And essentially what that is the principals send me information, usually the week prior, of anything positive that's happened in their school, what's going on with their school. That's just another way to kind of have an idea of what's happening at the tech school, the preschool, the middle school, the high school, the intermediate school, the primary school. And we also, at the bottom of every one of those, we have a monthly board meeting. Some of the board meetings are just, you're checking boxes of business and things like that, but those are open to the public. Anyone can attend that and kind of, stay abreast of what's going on in the district. So, like Mr. Chambers said, that's one of the things that we want folks to do, is to look at our stuff,
Right.
be able to navigate and get around
I agree.
and know what we have
I
out there.
don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So, fellas, what else?
I would like to encourage parents or guardians talking about social media to not be frightened or scared or hesitant to look at their child's social media, their Instagram, their Twitter accounts. Monitor that. I do my own child that way, and she's aware of that. I tell her it's not necessarily that I don't trust you, because I do, but there's a lot of people that you can't trust what's interacting on social media. I'd like to encourage parents to do that, to have access to their children's social media and review that.
And there's a lot of time with those social media things that I've had conversation with parents, that things that happen outside of school, that they want us to deal with or engage on situations that take place outside of school. That's got to be a two-way street.
Right.
Ties into directly what Mr. Chambers is mentioning, but also along with that, those things do bleed into school.
Sure they do. Sure they do.
And then it becomes a school issue
Then you can be more proactive toward it.
Yeah.
You can't go to someone's home and fix the problem.
Yeah. Right. Now, we've also had situations with social media, which I think is good for folks to know. We're just having a good discussion here about this stuff today. That we've had situations that have made it to court. That the judges actually had dealings with and whatnot. So it can get to a point to where it would be super serious. We don't want any parent or kid to be in that kind of situation, but definitely be careful. I kind of operate from if I do not want someone else to read it, I'm probably not going to put it out there, because as you know, we've talked, technology is an awesome tool, but man, it can also be something very, very, very dangerous, and you just got to be very careful with.
Well, we've got to the point now that I can do it and make it look like Dennis does it, and that's where our problem is. I do use Facebook for business. I do have almost 5,000 friends on Facebook, but Sean doesn't have a Facebook page. Do you, Dennis?
No, I do not.
So I know that if I really want Sean to see something, I know whose page to put it on.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not guaranteed of that. Mm-hmm. So you have to reach out if you want to.
Yeah, and one other thing that I would like to highlight today before we left is there's some people that I want to thank, and I know Mr. Chambers will agree with me on this. We have a great relationship with both our local police departments. Chief Gillen with Flatwoods, Chief Crisp with the Russell Police Department. We have a great relationship with the officers in each of those departments that are constantly on our campus. There's not a day goes by that we don't see folks. Buford Hurley with E911. We have a very close working relationship with them, especially when it comes to our lockdown drills and them being involved and having access. Our fire department, Brent Dean here, and Chief Selvage down in downtown Russell. We've collaborated on some projects outside of safety, but those guys have been in. I know the fire department in downtown Russell gave some money to our lunch programs about a year ago. Mayor Fields, Mayor Hopkins, we've had multiple conversations with him. When Mayor Prager was in charge, we've had multiple conversations with him back when we had the water issues and things like that. Right. I think it takes, it's kind of cliche, but I think it takes everyone working together to make it be the best it can be. And by having those first name basis relationships with these people, we've been able to help them. They've most certainly been able to help us. And we've actually collaborated on some things that folks are not aware of outside of school business, where we can kind of help and be a part of that. So there's just a lot of folks that really help with the security and the safety of our kids. And without mentioning some of those folks, I think it would absolutely kind of be a disservice.
All of those folks are involved in every one of our lockdown drills, including Bellefonte Police. Mm-hmm. We've had, and we invite other local area law enforcement to come to those as well. We cannot overemphasize how much we appreciate them.
And we have state troopers that have children in school, and
they participate as well.
And I guarantee you that they're going to be concerned about the safety of all the children.
Yeah, absolutely. Not this past year, the year prior, we had a day, Mr. Chambers and I, we spent pretty much 3/4 of a day with law enforcement, and we just walked them through our buildings. That was Kentucky State Police, Bellefonte, the Sheriff's Department, our local police officers. We went through every building, and that's when kids were not present, so it was easy to kind of look and see what would be a problem area, then communicating with us, then kind of knowing the layout of the schools. And one of the things that's changing with the police departments is as they get new staff, they weren't privy to that information before.
Right.
So we encourage there are times that a police officer will show up at one of our schools and the principal will take them around and say, here's the first floor of the middle school, second floor of the middle school, here's where the gym is at, here's where our band kids participate. You mentioned those walkways, kids going outside. And we've had a lot of really good collaboration and whatnot with them, because our schools have to be open to those folks.
Right.
It can't be a place where, I'm hands off, I can't go in. And we've really tried to open the doors. And I think not only do we get really good collaboration with them, I think we do a really good job with outside people being a part of the process. So a lot of folks might not know that, but I think that's a good thing for people in our community to know.
Anything else we need to address, gentlemen?
I think that's it. I think the tragedy that took place in Marshall County again, that's here in our home state. The news was inundated yesterday with everything that took place in Florida. I know I spent quite a long time, actually, Mr. Chambers and I had a couple of conversations after school yesterday. We worry about this stuff regularly.
Sure.
And, parents trust us to take care of their kids. And that is a huge responsibility. I mean, you cannot put enough emphasis on it.
I feel that we prioritize it here in our district.
The safety of our kids is most important. And I think something that is important that I think is good for people to know. Mr. Chambers has a child in this district. I have 2 children in this district. Majority of people in this office have grandchildren or children in our district. We're all plugged in. And if something was to happen to one of our kids at any point in time, that would be a tragedy in and of itself. And, I just think we need to continue to be proactive, continue to have conversations like what happened today, and continue to put safety in the front of everything that we do. And I did not mention our Board of Education, but they've been great. I cannot think of something that on the safety and security side of it they haven't supported. Anytime we went to them for cameras, they've been supportive of that. Absolutely. Update our buses, they've been in support of that. Our entrances at our schools, they've been in support of that. We've got a board that's been really supportive and out front with some of these security issues. Anyone that would like to collaborate with us, I think that's another thing. We've had some other schools come up. We had the Ashland Police Department here a week ago looking at our camera system, looking at our blue lights that we have in our schools. We want to collaborate because there's never been a conversation that we've had with another group or another school that we haven't picked up something that we want to bring back to our district and tweak. So, I think those partnerships and, folks that watch the video today that want to partner with us or give us some ideas, the Kentucky Center for School Safety, I sent some information out on it this morning. They've came up and looked at our traffic and some different things. We try to partner with them and they're a good entity for us to plug into. But, I think we do a good job, but I think, we just want to challenge everyone in the community, the school system to continue to keep it out front, and hopefully we'll work together. Hopefully we'll never be faced with something that some of these communities are dealing with today.
Yeah, I don't want to have to be part of that coverage at all. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Special Edition.
Around the corner or around the world with the green up beacon.
Video production streamed live and archived at greenupbeacon.com.